what the different roles are for people on the campus team?
Well, really the roles are one unified role, to get out and reach out to Vermonters, to put together the best cabinet that we can that reflects obviously the themes of this campaign, but more importantly, folks who can manage well, can rebuild morale among the state workforce and get the job done.
Governor Dean's role, he's not here.
The governor would be here. He's actually out of country now. He'll be back on the 7th or the 10th, and he'll be actively involved in a transition.
You've made no secret of the way you feel about Vermont Yankee, but I was reading one article today that titled you as anti-nuclear. How do you...
That's not a fair characterization in the respect that, as many of my colleagues will tell you in the Senate, I was very helpful to my power plant as president of the Senate over the years, because obviously it was one of my biggest employers. Frankly, I helped get them the preferential tax treatment they have right now. Some of my friends in the Senate used to call me the senator from BY. Where Entergy lost me was, my feeling about BY has always been, Vermonters keep their promises. The promise was that we would host the plant until 2012 for 40 years, unless there were safety or other issues that had developed. And we've kept that promise. The promise that was made to us also was there would be no high-level nuclear waste. It would be safe. Certainly, if you had asked Vermonters 40 years ago, if there's tritium, cobalt, strontium that causes cancer in human beings in the ground when this is over, would that still be acceptable to you? Vermonters would have said no, that's not acceptable. So a lot of things have changed, but to characterize me as anti-nuclear, I think, is consistent with my record.
Could you tell us now, would you rule out any new revenue as a way to deal with that $150 million projected budget deficit?
I am not one of the Democrats who feels that Vermont's biggest challenge is that our taxes are not high enough. I feel they're too high. I do think they discourage economic growth. And I've said that many times. My record reflects it. When one of my members of the transition team, Governor Howard Dean was governor, we cut the income tax from 32 to 24%. We got the sales tax on clothing and shoes altogether because we were watching it drive business into New Hampshire. So I don't want to raise taxes.
What do you think of Senator Mazza's line in the paper today that he hopes you'll keep some current members of the administration on? What do you think about that?
Well, I don't care whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, a progressive, an independent. That is not the criteria for working for this administration. I have a lot of good Republican friends who could help us in this administration. I think that we have a great tradition in Vermont of bringing on the best people to do the job. I will never ask you what party you're from or with. I couldn't care less. What I really care about is whether you can carry out the vision that we've outlined over the last few months in this campaign, whether you have experience in management, and whether you can deliver on what is clearly an ambitious agenda. We have a lot of really tough work to do to get Vermonters back to work.
So you'd expect to keep some?
We haven't made any judgments about that. I'll be honest with you, I just asked the governor, as anyone would in this position, to think a little bit about who, if he has recommendations of people that are real stars that are helping out.
Do you feel confident that Vermont will not suffer if Vermont Yankee is closed and that a new energy plan that you put forward will take the place of it adequately?
We have a really bright future in energy in Vermont, and I think we can show the rest of the nation how to get it done. And let's start with the issue of efficiency. I think there's a huge jobs opportunity as well as an environmental opportunity for Vermonters if we can become the state that leads the other 49 in energy efficiency. Listen, we are expending as a little state millions and millions of dollars out of Vermonters' pockets that they work so hard from to send to, frankly, Saudi Arabia, countries like that. Now, the royal family, they're doing just fine, and they're going to be okay without our dollars. Let's find a way to tighten up our existing buildings and make sure that we're using less energy. And then the second opportunity is clearly, as we move to renewable energy as a nation, and we're going to have to, if Vermont can play a part in both leading by example in terms of our own production of power and in terms of creating the jobs that actually produce those, actually produce the power systems. look what's happening at Northern Power Systems, look what's happening at many of the companies around Vermont. You know, I think that we can be an exporter of energy technology for the country and for the world. So we have huge opportunities. There's no question that energy is going to be a huge driver in this economy, and let's make sure Vermont gets at least some small part of that.
Can you talk about the time frame for the transition team?
Well, we think we have an 8-week deadline, and we're going to meet it. We haven't really had an opportunity to. The first thing we're going to do is, within the 8-week time frame, understand that hasty judgments don't lead to good judgments. So we're going to take our time. We're not going to set an artificially quick pace. The really important thing is to have the conversations with the folks that we think can help us, engage them in those conversations, talk to a lot of Vermonters, listen to everybody. As I mentioned, this is not a partisan expedition that we're on, and really engage good people to get the job done.
What about the challenges for change? What about the challenges for change? I understand they're coming up short, and Jim Reardon has made a recommendation that 6% be cut from some agencies. Could you talk about whether or not you would accept that recommendation and how you plan to avoid a, excuse me, an ugly budget adjustment period?
Well, you know, I think the reason that we've asked Susan Bartlett to work together with Jim Reardon and with Neil Lunderville and others is so that we can start to really look at these questions, but we haven't had an opportunity to do so yet, so I'll pass on answering that.
One thing,
security
in the last
detail.
48 hours, Governor-elect, what surprised you most personally? Does it feel very different now than it did 3 days ago? Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure it does. You know, this is going to take some adjusting, obviously. This has been a dream for a long time. I really think that I can assemble a team that can deliver on some of the hopes and dreams of Vermonters, but, you know, it sinks in slowly. I'm trying to get used to some of the things that have changed in my life. I wanted to walk down the street yesterday and was told I couldn't. You know, I'm a walker. I'm not used to having folks around me all the time, so sure, there's an adjustment, and we'll do the best we can.
You're serving with the Republican Lieutenant Governor Phil Scott. Give us your thoughts on that.
You know, Phil and I have worked together for a long time. We're close personal friends. I have tremendous confidence in Phil Scott, and I intend to involve him in this administration in ways that lieutenant governors sometimes aren't involved. He's a very capable person. As you know, I appointed him chair of the Institutions Committee. He did a great job for me there as chair of institutions. We served together on a transportation committee, and he's going to be tremendously helpful to this administration.
Should the PR positions that you've publicly flogged over this campaign be looking for new work right now?
Well, I wouldn't be sending in an application if I were you. We're going to keep the press doing press. You guys do a great job, and maybe that's a good way to good note to end on. Thank you so much.
Just one more on your security detail. Is it the trooper who pulled you over for speeding?
My biggest disappointment is it looks like I'm not going to have the opportunity to drive for a while.
There's one gentleman next to Susan you didn't identify.
Oh,
He's the
this is Larry
star of the
Cassidy.
TV ad, right?
This is the star of my TV ad, Larry Cassidy, my close personal friend. You know, I don't know what to say about Larry, except he gets tough things done, so we brought him on for a few days to help us do tough things. Thank you very much.